Lucas Oil Stadium, downtown Indianapolis. We are back. It is the offseason. There are 337 players invited here for the 2020 NFL Scouting Combine, 93 of whom, oh, by the way, like this guy, Joe Burrow, from the SEC. Is he the number one overall pick? Does he want to be a Bengal? He said, yeah, kind of, sort of, earlier today. Tua Tagovailoa, your headline. He says he hopes to be ready to work out March 9. He's not limping. That's good news here. Is he the number 2 quarterback on the board? Or maybe could Justin Herbert make that leap? I know it's not only about the quarterbacks, but these are 3 of the 17 from whom we heard today. As busy a Tuesday as we have ever had. All paws on deck here in Indy at the Combine, as it's a new schedule this year. 23 GMs, 23 coaches, all the quarterbacks, 55 wide receivers, all on the podium today. We're bouncing around for 8 hours on NFL Now. Roadshow today. Welcome to Indianapolis on NFL Network, along with Matt Money Smith, who's on the other side. He'll join us shortly. I'm Andrew Siciliano. Kevin Stefanski, the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, comes up shortly. And Ian Rapoport is here as well. Hi, because there's a lot of news.
As always. I mean, and that's one of the best things, Andrew. You come in here, you listen to some of these GMs and coaches, and they finally basically tell you everything they're going to do for the next 2 months. It's really fascinating.
Sometimes they're a little bit of evasive, and we have to kind of read between the lines here. Bruce Arians was sitting in this chair a couple of minutes ago. Let's get to what Bruce Arians did and didn't say. The number one headline, I think, Ian, the takeaway, is that he's already made up his mind, he said, about Jameis Winston coming back for a 6th season. I pressed him. He wouldn't say what that decision was, but he did say he has yet to tell Jameis of that decision. How did you read that conversation?
That's true, and the Bucs are going to meet with Jameis Winston's agent, Joel Siegel, and Greg Barnett. They're going to meet with them tomorrow, I believe, and we'll see if they end up shedding some more light on what they believe about Jameis. I thought you did a good job of trying to pin him down. From my standpoint, based on what I know and what I also reported in December, the expectation is Jameis is coming back and has been coming back. The fact that they know now what they are going to do is a good sign that they are going to try to bring him back. He talked about door number 2 and door number 3 as doing due diligence, which certainly does not sound like it's something that they consider first options or even second options. It's more like, let's see if Ryan Tannehill or someone like that is free. That's kind of what it sounded like, because if they're waiting to see if Phillip Rivers is free, they don't need to know. They know he
is free.
He is free. So to me, reading between the lines, it sounds like Jameis back to the Bucs. Then there's a question of if the CBA gets done today, Andrew, they only have one tag. So do they use it on Shaq Barrett or Jameis, and then how do they proceed?
Yeah, if the CBA does not get done, a little inside football here, in the final year of the CBA, which is what this would be if no deal gets done, you can use 2 tags, a franchise tag and a transition tag. So the Buccaneers would be better suited to keep both Jameis Winston and Shaq Barrett. But Arians did reiterate today, sitting here, that they do not want to let Shaq Barrett out of the building. The difficulty is trying to find, I think, the right number, because 19.5 sacks usually equals $20 million. Do you give a guy all that money that has only really done it in 1 year?
Or do you make him prove it for a 1-year franchise tag?
Right, which could also be a way to do it. There's also a little bit of Chicago Bears news. The Bears have until May to pick up Mitch Trubisky's 5th-year option. You would think top of the draft quarterback. You can make that call after year 3. Ryan Pace didn't want to play his hand today, but he did still seem to be committed to Mitch Trubisky.
At every time, at every chance, the Bears have committed to Mitchell Trubisky. They have. I mean, as an organization, they have stood behind him as their starter. Even when he struggled this year, it was never Trubisky needs to play better. It was our defense has got to play better. It was we got to run the ball, we got to protect him, we got to block better. I mean, it was everything in support of Mitchell Trubisky. I would expect that to be the case in May as well. Now, could something unforeseen happen to give them a little backstop? Maybe an Andy Dalton being available, which I would expect he's potentially. But every time they've been asked about supporting Mitch Trubisky, they have done it. And I would expect that to be the case here as well.
And with Chase Daniel's contract up, the Bears are going to have to find another backup. The real question here is, what level of veteran backup do they go get? And how much competition truly is there? Are they willing to bring in someone to legitimately push and compete with Trubisky?
And pay for it, because that's expensive.
Right. And what they say now is one thing. What they do come March 18th, if it is March 18th, is entirely different. You had a report earlier today as well that it looks as if, it certainly sounds as if, the Panthers are moving forward with Cam Newton. Here's my question.
Okay.
Is that because they really can't move on because his health, his rehab isn't there yet?
It's a couple of factors. The health is obviously a factor. And what's interesting, and I'm not sure people know this, Cam Newton had a foot surgery. It involved and I'm clearly not a doctor, it involved a webbing being basically surgically attached to his foot to help the foot heal, a Lisfranc surgery that is not common in sports. It's common, but it's not common in sports. That was what they decided to use for Cam Newton. So judging...
Like a webbing underneath his foot? I'm not talking between toes
yes,
here. I know you're not a doctor.
A webbing underneath his foot, essentially. Right. It's not something that's used in sports, so having sports doctors look at it, and they are very confident in where he is, but until you see it, until he's game ready, then there's really not much to talk about. So, yes, trading him now would basically not be something that's feasible because he's doing well but not game ready until May or June. The other part of it, Andrew, is where's he going to go? Like, where would they trade him to?
I got names. How about the Chargers?
It doesn't.
Keep throwing it out there.
No. Chargers are a potential quarterback spot. They're a team that's expected to make a run at Tom Brady. They have Tyrod Taylor, who they would use as the
sell tickets for a new stadium.
Winning sells tickets.
Understand, but it's not a bad start.
It's not a bad start, but then they also may draft a quarterback in the first round. So then you would have Tyrod. You have another quarterback, Easton Stick, who they also like. There's options for the Chargers besides Cam.
Right, and the question is, do the Chargers need to move up potentially from 6 to get whomever it is they want if they want to go?
They may.
Young quarterback right now. Thank you, Ian Rapoport, NFL Network Insider. He's going to be back throughout the day here. Right now, the Bengals do have number 1. Joe Burrow is the presumptive number 1. And after a Heisman season, one that included 60 touchdown passes and 65 total touchdowns, he seems slated to go home to Ohio. But we haven't heard him pound the table yet and say, I have dreamed my entire life of wearing that Bengals helmet.
Joe, just to get this out of the way, if the Bengals select you at number 1, would you happily report to go play for them?
Yeah, I'm not going to not play. I'm a ball player. Whoever picks me, I'm going to go show up.
Do you have any reservations about playing for the Cincinnati Bengals?
I'll play whoever for whoever drafts me. You know, I'm just not going to be presumptuous about, you know, what they want to do. It's the draft. You guys have been covering it for a long time. You never know what's going to happen. You know, the only thing that I've said is I just didn't want to be presumptuous about the pick, and so that's why I've been non-committal, because I don't know what's going to happen. You know, they might not pick me. They might fall in love with someone else. So you guys kind of took that narrative and ran with it, but there's never been anything like that from my end. So we played a month longer than everyone else, and everyone else has been training a month longer than us because we played January 13th, and then I took a week off and then got back to training. So everyone else has been training a lot longer. So I feel like I wanted to put I didn't think I'd be able to put my best foot forward here at the combine, so I wanted to wait till pro day, had another whole month of training, and just be the best that I could be when everyone's eyes were on me.
Last night you tweeted about the metric on the hand measurement. I mean, do you think that's kind of silly? I mean, obviously you perform well. I mean, you're a quarterback, and
yeah. I mean, these measurements you can take so much from them. If it's a glaring issue on film with turnovers, yeah, it's probably an issue. But I didn't have a lot of fumbles or anything like that, so I just tried to make a little joke out of it. I don't get paid to talk about measurements and analyze the measurements. I get paid to play football, so that's what I'm going to do.
The question about Burrow is, do you want to be a Bengal? The question about Tua Tagovailoa is, do you think you're going to be healthy? Can you prove to teams that you're going to be healthy? This after a broken hip late in his final Alabama season. Here's what Tua had to say today.
This rehab process has been it's been gradually getting, up as far as workouts with what we've been doing. So just strengthening all the parts around the hip, the glute, the hamstring, the quad, just being able to be ready that once March 9th hits and we're cleared to go, then I'll be able to do everything. For me, whatever team decides to pick me, I'd be grateful. Whether it's first or 32nd or 200, I mean, I'd be grateful just to get picked. All I said was I'm a big Cowboys fan. I grew up a Cowboys fan my entire life. I understand that, a lot of people have changed my words around saying, that's the only team I want to go to, but that's not true. I grew up a Cowboys fan. I have 2 dogs that are named Dallas and Star, just to tell you guys how big of a Cowboys fan I was growing up. But I'd be grateful, to be drafted by any team, man.
You'd be grateful. And right now, Tua is the #1 quarterback on top of Bucky Brooks' board for the top 5 quarterbacks. Tua #1.